They say at the end of a rainbow is a pot of gold. But what happens when you follow that rainbow for too long? You go on a big, dumb, long road trip telling yourself, yeah, this rainbow has gotta have gold at the end. Then you arrive and the pot has a slur written on it, someone starts shooting at you from a window, and then you get hacked for good measure. That actually happened to me, by the way. Now the Instagram account I used one whole time retweets hot girls and faulty lotto cards, though I'd still trust that over alpha packs. Rainbow Six Siege started as a failing game, if you recall. After a gameplay demo that was more scripted and fake than the fate of Jeffrey Epstein, it dropped off fairly early in its lifespan. It seemed like no one was playing it, and over the course of 6 years, somehow accumulated over 25 million players, despite its lack of a story mode and a small roster of 20 characters to pick from. Instead, it held up as a highly tactical shooter. Obviously, all of my footage is from the current year because I don't have a time machine. That said, there was a soul to Rainbow Six Siege. You could be in a gunfight, miss a shot that penetrates a soft wall, and then someone's soft skull. You would gaze at the destruction in each round, looking at the bodies of your fallen buddies and enemies, wondering about the cruelty of man. You could laugh as your buddy picked Lord Tachanka despite it being the final round of overtime. It wasn't a goofy game, that's for sure, but it was willing to embrace the chaos and unfairness of tactical warfare. Granted, it was made by Ubisoft, whose quality assurance is about as genuine as the "enjoy" on the back of a TV dinner. You might say it's too late to make a Rainbow video, and based on the view count, I'd say you're probably right. But I'm doing it anyway, because I hate this game. More so, I hate what it's become. Rainbow now feels like what Call of Duty was when I was 15. The big thing that if you don't play like a pro, you don't play at all. With a ranked system that sanitizes the whole experience as if we're all on the big stage surrounded by lights and an inevitable public execution. I like to break up online multiplayer games in two ways. The first is the emotional fantasy that they emulate. For example, Dead by Daylight feels like your own personal horror movie at the start. You get scared by a killer, then watch as your friends fall to it one by one. Then there's the mechanical reality beneath it, something that can do things like annoy you and lower your self-worth, like spawning you in a position where you can't counter certain characters, resulting in that precious skill rating of yours getting dangerously close to your GPA. And the problem is that the emotional fantasy eventually stops giving dopamine. The funny fun stuff becomes the dummy dumb reasons you're losing, and all you're stuck with is the mechanical reality. But we don't just put the stupid game down at that point, do we? No, that's where you're right where they want you. Your leg is in a bear trap. 2 bear traps. On one end is all that stuff you've worked for, and the other is your friends, hooked up to the milking pod, waiting for you on Discord after work. So as the fun of being a SWAT officer in a sensitive situation vanishes, all that's left is the shooty bits. The enemy team needs to stop having good things happen, and your teammates need to stop picking operators that wouldn't have lasted on the fucking Shanghai Dragons roster. Rainbow Six is a game about coldly sweeping through and doing things with efficiency. Clean takedowns, remorseless warfare. But there's also a chaos in that. A trap left behind, an exploding wall. It's a blend of those two elements. That is cool. Yet, imagine a good glass of vodka and Coke. A great blend, but Ubisoft keeps adding vodka and removing the Coke. It might be nice until they serve you a glass full of vodka, then start asking you to eye up these lottery cards. And I hate watching the game go like this, because I care about Rainbow for the creative and fun experience that it was, and keep checking back to find that spirit weaker and weaker by the day. When you start a round in Rainbow Six Siege, you select a character and get put into a setup phase. Oh, I'm sorry. You select a character, then wait as the game tries to load for the guy whose computer cools its GPU with cigarette smoke. Attackers spend the setup phase in their drones. These are little Roombas that can drive around and scan things. The drone phase spawns you outside a massive building, with the doors boarded shut and an objective inside. This objective can be 2 bombs that need defusing, an area to secure, or a hostage to rescue. Unless you're playing in 2023, which means you need to find a bomb only, because those other 2 were kidnapped in 2021 and sold into quick play slavery. Your goal as the drone is to go inside and scout out the building, find the objectives and the enemy inside. By discovering where those bombs are and the kind of operators in play, you can plan a route and deal with the traps they set in any way you can, before your drone is inevitably shot by Legion, because Legion is always the one who shoots your drone. Attackers are allowed to change their character during this phase, so if you are able to find the objective in 30 seconds and scan their team, you have the opportunity to counterpick. Like they choose Needle Guy and you go Thimble Man, that kind of thing. Droning lets you go through tiny vents and do a little parkour hop every few seconds. After you've Lucio'd your way onto a high piece of furniture, you can check that drone throughout the round and it might just save your life. If you want to hide your drone on sight, my best advice is to hide it under a box or something, then face the wall. The drone emits a bright light from the front whenever it's active. Then, right as the timer is about to end, flip it right back around and start the match. Once that timer's up, the light turns off, so you're no longer in control of the drone. It also rips you out of the drone for a second, so if Mr. Toothpick is chasing it by then, you're fucked. From there, you spawn in and the match begins properly. It's up to you and your 4 teammates to somehow break into that point and defuse those bombs. To which you will instantly find that one of those wooden boards was broken, giving someone a chance to see you walking up and blowing your head off before things even start to roll. Enjoy that podcast, you've got some time to catch up. Plus that masculinity of yours could use a nice pat on the back. Yeah, I should mention that this game takes its SWAT aesthetic very seriously, and I like that to a degree. I love the tension of every corner and unchecked piece of space being a threat. Watching as that tension snaps out every person in a slow, methodical ramping up of the stakes, culminating in a final showdown with just a few seconds on the clock where the whole thing ends with the Capkin trap going off. It's an aesthetic the game has a tenuous relationship with. Rainbow Six started very close to its roots, and in that fetal state you can see militarism was a major theme. All of the characters were covered in armor from head to toe. Any semblance of personality is buried to give them as much tactical advantage as possible. What this all resulted in was a game with characters that formed an identity as a team rather than individuals, which does help with the extreme violence. It's not like, oh no, Leon Kennedy is dead. Here it's, gotcha Mike Baker, sucks about the Queen, but this sledgehammer has a thing for politics. Let's say things go well. You find a quick spot to shift tab and mute Joe Rogan. There are multiple ways into the objective. You can start from the bottom floor and crawl up to the objective. You can hot breach through a window and get shot because you're an idiot, or you could melt down one of the walls outside of the point and fight from out there. Bullets are not a joke. It takes 3 to 4 to kill you, and the guns fire so fast that you likely won't even hear the shot that kills you. And it doesn't come down to who is more accurate, but who has better positioning. The defining trait of each character is their unique gadget. Defenders usually lay traps and fortify routes so that they're harder to break through, even if that includes their own fucking team, while attackers have weapons to break those fortifications and secure kills. That's a bit reductive, but very few gadgets in the game actually have the power to kill you. For example, Ash, one of the most aggressive operators in the game, has a gadget that lets her blow up a barricade from afar so that she can run through it. That isn't to say there aren't gadgets that kill you. They're just much rarer. Though attackers only really get Fuse, who sets a charge on a wall, then watches everyone on the other side of that wall scurry from a hail of mini grenades. Let us out, they'll shout, and there he will be, unflinching, ready to trade your life so that he doesn't have to put that wall back up. Fuse does become a point of contention in early elo, as his ability can do tremendous amounts of damage while the character himself stays mostly safe. The counter to this is to make a big YouTube video, then tell all the Fuse mains to go fuck themselves. Speaking of slick sleeve operators that never touch the point, there are a handful of support operators, like Twitch's drone that primarily tases and breaks enemy gear, or Montang's giant shield that acts as walking team kill. Arguably the most popular operators are the ones that can burn through reinforced walls. Operators that can make big fucking holes, manageable squares, and tiny forms of human communication. Breaching metal walls is the most teamwork-heavy part of the match, as you need to know when the enemy's anti-hole technology is up, timing it with an EMP, which might be countered by the opposite team putting their anti-hole technology back in their pocket. And whether or not that wall stays up is going to have a massive impact on the rest of the game. Blowing these walls open gives you an insane angle on the enemy team, and pushes them away from most of their devices, giving you a solid opportunity to intimidate them with your guns while someone plants the spike. In terms of sides, I actually prefer defending. That's because after I die, my gear stays on the field. Someone recorded that hot breach clip, meaning that the only bigger idiot is the person who didn't notice that I am one too. During the drone round, where all the attackers are jumping around, keeping an eye out for cargo shorts, you can turn wooden walls into reinforced metal ones, and place your character's unique gadget. Attackers tend to get more value from their gadgets because they have to be deployed in the moment with more room for error, while defenders tend to have a set it and forget it playstyle. Like Thorn Traps scream for a while before going off, while Nomads doesn't kill, it triggers instantly, giving you little options to counter it. The defending team is split into 2 kinds of characters, anchors and roamers. Most can be played as either or, but some have specific identities. Like Clash will never be your roamer, because Clash will never be played ever again. Anchors tend to stay on the objective and growl at stairs till they show some feet, while roamers go to the floors below or above, trying to catch attackers before they get to the point itself. You need a careful balance of both to make sure the attackers feel nervous, keeping those precious feet moving slowly throughout the level. Communication is key. When attacking, you need to spot out roamers for your team before your location has been compromised. Most gunfights aren't actually won in accuracy, but who has the better setup. Maybe Jake telling you to sit patiently at the top of the spiral staircase is a good idea. Or maybe he's being an idiot walking up those stairs unaware. We'll address toxicity later, but the best way to communicate is to pretend the team is your girlfriend. Slip in a lot of light, joking words like, yo, nice one, and got that fucker downstairs. The Z key also lets you ping traps and locations. It is widely considered more useful than scanning the enemy with the more accurate X key because that tells the other person that they've just been spotted. But I prefer the X key because I'm not going to decipher Thorn and Kids nearly as fast as you want me to. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about guns. No matter how neat a giant knife bomb is, the actual worth of an operator is determined more by the guns they carry. Here's a tier list. These are the operators that have ACOG scopes. And here are the ones who don't. Remember to like and subscribe. Also hit the bell icon for more. I really should stress though, nothing about a character is more important than their gun. Not their gadget, not their secondary gadgets, not their speed, not their health. You might be wondering why guns would matter when most of them are capable of killing so quickly. And the answer is that with fights being as fast as they are, very stupid things will make a difference. A single missed shot from wily recoil is death. A sight that doesn't magnify your opponent's head is basically worthless, and if it's not a headshot, it better pepper bullets like Gordon Ramsay's looking over its shoulder. As time went on, Ubisoft stopped making new guns with the operators and just started recycling them, because how many times can you just add numbers at the end of AK? So you have more chances to get the already good guns like the FMG-9 or the SMG-11. Then all you have to do is break a window and step 5. Enjoy. In regards to the types of guns you have, machine guns which shooty fast and require a lot of recoil control, DMRs that need a minute after every shot, a handful of sniper characters, and the shotguns that, just like you, make the world a much worse place. There is some planning based on what point you're going to be on. Sometimes you're going to want the shotgun that I can only refer to as the Thunder, which cleans out walls and makes a lot of noise doing it. If you want to plan a bit more forwardly, you can use the pick and ban system to patch into a certain map. At the start of the game, before the lung cancer even starts, both teams get to ban a map, then a single operator from attack and defense, meaning 4 character bans overall. You could say this is to patrol the meta and make each match feel unique and fun. I say this is a dogmatic hellhole that forces all of its players to balance the game themselves. Or you could do what I do, boot up Rainbow Six Stat Tracker, find the Valorant Pro on the enemy team, then cross out both their mains. Hilarious still. Leave them wondering why someone would ban something as random as Amaru and Pulse. Easily done when you have 2 teammates securing you the voting power you need. With 3 of the 5 votes all agreed before the match even starts, you really get to electoral college your way into whatever you want. And if you think that's bad, wait till you start looking into what I call the team kill economy. Of course, if you're solo, you can always use a bit of psychological manipulation. You are going to become the team boyfriend after all. Not that they needed the mind tricks. Most Siege players are one patient person away from being a flat earther. By selecting an option before anyone else does, a majority will follow that pick, especially when no one is speaking yet. Yep, vote out Rook. Imagine you're stuffing the ballots by wearing a weird subliminal t-shirt. This system did eventually lead me to make my smartest decision. I put down the slurfest that is unranked, and I booted up Quick Play. Despite being the watered-down baby's first Siege, I kind of liked it way more. It gives you access to all of the maps, no matter how unliked they might be. It also removes the voting system and brings you to a random point on the map, so that you don't get gerrymandered onto armory lockers for the 30th time that day. Plus, Rainbow Six genuinely has some beautiful maps that you'll never get to see otherwise. Look at the favela and all of the visual flair. The way the night sky highlights the bright greens in the buildings, with all these little bits of storytelling on the walls, especially all of the fireworks and giant Jesus statue outside. It was like, wow, the giant chain telling me to play ranked really wasn't making the game better. Now if only I could do something about that bear trap. Not that all of the game modes are made equal, like that other game mode that they said was a major selling point but pretend doesn't exist anymore. Terrorist Hunt was a player versus environment mode where your team would breach a building full of NPC enemies. The damage was still high and the risk was there. On most difficulties it's kind of a cakewalk, but the realistic difficulty is where it's at. Instant death lurks around every corner and your friends are gonna drop like flies. It's not like that good, but it is really fun for something they just threw out there to say it's not all PvP. Rainbow Six was a real game once upon a time, with levels and Tom Clancy, who would almost certainly believe the election was stolen. I've always wanted to do more of the realistic mode with a full squad of people that don't give up and whine every 5 minutes. But the best I could do is myself, and whatever, my playlist gives me enough friends. I shouldn't gas it up too much. The AI isn't great. They tend to march one by one into your bullets without ever adapting to your strategy, as well as their own wacky ways of shooting you. Watching the kill cam might as well have a red-coded filter on it. The demand for PvE was high enough that some guy walked up to Ubisoft management and passed the world's hardest speech check. Now we have Rainbow Six Siege Extraction, and that is bound to be Ubisoft's tax refund one day. I tried to Google and find player counts, but the best I have is that less than 20 people are watching it on Twitch right now. I was gonna play it myself, but then the servers vomited on me, and I just, I know when I'm not welcome. Now this game mode is called Training Grounds, which, metaphor aside, is just a bad name. I wouldn't assume by looking at it that this is PvE. I'd assume this was the little firing range where I can test Valkyrie cameras, or walk around the map without hearing cav on the window, pusher, pusher, pusher. I did say I would talk about communicating with your team again, because I didn't tell you how to handle the guy with the deep mic that started the match ready to hate you. I spare no exception when I say this. This is the most toxic game I've ever played. These are people you want to avoid. Call of Duty is toxic, but it's also a very meaningless toxic. Everyone's nasty, but they're gone in a flash, like the ghost of Christmas future. Rainbow players are toxic and they infect you. They stink up your lobby and breathe heavily the whole time. The only thing that impresses me is how many different ways people have found to say the N-word without getting in trouble. It's not helped by the scoreboard. There are very few ways you can influence the match without violence. Supports exist, but if you aren't getting kills, you're just dead weight. Your name at the bottom shines a big ol' light on your crunkly ass. You see that username of mine, you know what insults I get. But that doesn't include outright nasty people, and with friendly fire you can always lose your cool.
Damn, why'd you TK me, bro?
Though with a report system that doesn't do jack shit, maybe it's justified.
Wait. You know me, dumb nigga?
To draw attention to the easy part of Toxicity first, Rainbow has a full match of 10 players, all without respawns. Everyone on your team has a little condition where they'll disconnect from the game and alt-tab to finer culture. It could be you not listening to their callouts, taking their favorite operator, or just, I don't know, hearing a girl speak. In quick play, that's not a big deal. At the sight of female pronouns, you can exit the match and it'll fill for you right away. But that's not the deal in ranked matches. There you have an unspoken promise. If you leave this match, it is now permanently unbalanced. A promise that is easily broken, because sometimes someone walks in with aged Jack Daniels, and I quickly learned that I'd rather spend it with them than Spawn Peak Headshot McGee. Then there's just straight trolling. As you can tell by this Maverick footage, my inner 15-year-old never left, and he's playing Call of Duty with my soul. That isn't everything though. Remember those one-shot headshots? Rainbow Six is full of cheaters. And they hate you. They hate you, and then their name goes on the wall of fame. You might notice that at random moments, Siege likes to remind you that they have the cheating problem under wraps, while Nicholas Jur finds another way around the auto detection. Let's circle back around to that whole emotional fantasy and mechanical reality bit, which is easy because I made those terms up and don't need to cite anything except the snail in my brain. Ubisoft is not the greatest at sticking to their core vision. One of the reasons I genuinely think Rainbow was able to rebound in its early years is because upper management sort of quit on it. They probably saw the player base dip and were ready to hyperscape it, only for the individual developers to pull together a great game. Ain't the case anymore. Rainbow pulls in enough money to kill a man in his own prison cell. Now it's Ubisoft's investment. So when it comes to things that might be finicky, but also have artistic merit, they tend to get thrown right out. Take the newer character designs. Gone is the overbearing armor and giant headdresses.
Now there's tons of goofy skins for everyone.
And I don't have a great solution to that, because how do you make 100 different versions of Lazarevich's goons? Eventually you gotta branch out and try to experiment with that style. But also the horrors of a wall exploding and hellfire erupting is a bit awkward when your backup is fucking Rick Sanchez. The emotional fantasy in Siege died with that fake gameplay trailer. Yeah, I'm not forgetting this. It tells a story of these SWAT soldiers rescuing a hostage under tense pressure. A helicopter leads them into an average suburban house in the dead of night, as a woman pleads to be saved before the drone is blown out. They carefully discuss a plan of action, for the barricades are busted down as some cyber psycho named Havoc dips in and out, executing team members one by one. With bullets tearing through the walls, the hostage gets hit by a stray one. The team sniper is eventually caught off guard and killed before making the worst call out of all time.
Havoc, he got me.
Where is he?
Never mind that, hurry!
Culminating in a final showdown between the annoying shot caller and Havoc before cutting to black and never ever returning, because these two gameplay clips are worlds apart. This is a drama. This is content. And if you know what I mean by content, I'm sorry that you are as miserable as me. The only thing I haven't touched on is the story. So let's talk about the story. The game has tried to write lore as time has gone on, in the form of comics, animations, and some in-game cutscenes when it came out. Some people say that the whole game is a series of training matches in a shoot house, something slightly supported by the fact that they actually do that in some of the animated shorts. But that just doesn't make a lot of sense. Are you really telling me that Fuse shows up to the wet t-shirt contest with napalm? I think there's some dissonance between these shorts and the real game, too. The combat in Siege is very snappy. You get snuffed out in a second, but these shorts tend to take a more John Wick approach to the action, more spy fantasy. The whole new thing is that Rainbow Six has been divided into multiple squads while dealing with the clashing motivations of a mercenary company that they have been subcontracting to. The problem is the same as every other multiplayer game. Why should I care? You will do this plotline in different mediums and I will never interact with it. Unless they want to make it a story mode, and let me tell you, I wouldn't roll it. While they are animated with some real attention to detail, I don't think the writing ever brings them near the level of an Overwatch hero. However, I've always been more excited by the story told by the community, the way they react to updates, how they embrace certain characters, what long-awaited feature is on its way. Then I booted Operation Brutal Swarm and Solar Raid, and I didn't find what I was expecting. I found that all of the streamers were not even playing the new character, and I was like, huh? Okay, weird. They're probably more interested in chewing cardboard and wishing they were playing CSGO. Then they banned the new operator when I tried to play him, and I was like, alright, rude. Then I played him in quick play and hogged like crazy, but barely anyone complained. You were so quick to tell me how I'll die because I didn't put metal on this wall, but gatekeeping you from the content we waited 3 months for doesn't even faze you. Then again, why should you get excited for a new operation when most of the time it's just one new character with recycled firearms, a new secondary gadget, and nothing else? Rainbow used to have a very strong appeal to its content model. Every year it had 4 seasons to it. Each of the 4 seasons was themed around a certain country. There would be a completely new map from there, 2 new characters for each side, and they'd come with a slew of new weapons. Maybe that doesn't stick for everyone, so let me compare by saying that almost every other live game, with the exception of Dead by Daylight, would only do one of these things a month. And listen, maybe I feel a little upset about this point, because when I say more content, I think of some poor coder guy staying up all night before crying into his Better Call Saul pillow. There could be a multitude of good reasons for this slower pace. It's easier on the team, on the engine, on the budget. However, you started me off with 2 new operators with unique weapons and new maps. You can't quiet quit as a game company. My expectations are already here. But weak updates aside, I've really been enjoying my time with Rainbow. I really didn't want to end my video saying that. There's something guttural about killing a person when there are no respawns. That they need to sit on the cameras and hold X or occasionally tap Z, and it's because of me. The mechanical setup of the game is fine. It does tell some story in its matches, but it's very much about the skill rather than the chaotic tactical operators. Who can win the patience game, find the clever pixel peek, who cracks under pressure and doesn't check that one corner, who leaves the diffuser in the spawn room. There are some games that focus more on the emotional fantasy, like Ready or Not, which keeps Rainbow Six's tense nail-biting SWAT action. This game buries its people in armor, doesn't care how unfair it is, and the developers laugh every time you turn a corner, scream, and accidentally gun down your best friend. I don't think it has enough content yet to warrant a full video or even a full recommendation, though it does kill in atmosphere, and there are a few games that get me tensed up like it does, as you crawl through these environments and make snapshot decisions. Basically, I'm trying to say, keep an eye on Ready or Not. At least when I get shot in that game, the slurs are made up. Alright, let's wrap up on Rainbow Six. What the hell is going on with it? I can't say it sucks because, well, it doesn't. I checked. I searched the state of Rainbow Six Siege and it was all uninspired clickbait. Siege is very competitive in nature. It's like CSGO in that you can't pick it up and just have fun. You need to learn the angles and style of play. Just a bit of advice from me to you. Do casual. They split the rules between ranked and casual for a reason. Just because one makes you feel more adult doesn't mean that you actually enjoy it more. Though eventually you will drop it. Everyone drops it. Your friends will wiggle out of the bear trap. They were nice enough to bring my operators back from PS4, and that was worth the replay for making this video. But I dropped Rainbow, and all that time never really felt well used. And that's why I worry about following a Rainbow forever. Hey, thanks for watching. I would like to give a special shout out to the people on Patreon who make videos like this possible. If you would like to support me, link is in the description. I would especially like to thank Jonah Simpson, Noah Upton, Faye Lynn, and Mario Fan 997. As always, links to a Twitter and Twitch account are in the description. I hope to catch you guys again sometime soon.